and I'm back with my next budget and paying off debt tip. And today I'm talking about my book list, my recommended books that I suggest that you read. And I talked about in some of my other videos about the importance of reading books. And I think this will make the biggest difference in your life, whether it's your finances, dealing with people, your relationships, anything. Reading books will propel you so much further ahead in your life. But specifically with money, there's 3 different categories of books that I'm going to go over. The first category of book is going to be about your mindset. So you can't really do the how-tos of money unless you have your mindset right. So I'm going to be talking about those books. Then the next category of books is how to increase your job income. Because really, to pay off debt, you're going to have to be able to create more income in your life, specifically around your career and your job. And then the last set of books I'm going to go over is how to increase your wealth. So investing and businesses, stuff like that. So that's the third set of books. The first category, like I said, is your mindset. So the first book I suggest is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And this is actually a very old book. He talks about Edison in the book, so if that tells you a little bit about how old it is. But he really talks about how you need a definite major purpose in your life and how once you have that, you can accomplish it. And you need to focus solely on that definite major purpose. And he goes over a lot of that in the book, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is a great book about how to get started and getting your mind right. The next book I suggest is The Slight Edge Effect by Jeff Olson. And this is actually one of the first books I started reading when I started reading self-help books categories. I used to always just read fantasy and stuff like that. So this is one of the books that I highly suggest to anybody, and it really made sense to me when I read it, and I started to see why I was successful in a lot of areas of my life, whether it was sports or school. It was because I was naturally doing a lot of the things he talks about in this book. But not all of us do this naturally. We a lot of times think that we need to make one big move in our life, and once we get that one job, everything's going to be better. But he really talks about how it's the small daily actions in your life that make the difference in your wealth and your happiness. And he really said that happiness is created by doing some simple, easy things and doing them every day. So again, it's not one big revolutionary thing that you have to know or do. It's small daily habits that will change your life. So he talks about those in this book. Definitely read it. The last book in this category is actually a book I just finished reading. I just heard about it. It's called Start by Jon Acuff. And he's written some other books as well, but this is the only one I've read so far. So that's the only one I'm going to recommend. But he really talks about how to find your passion and that kind of specializing in something. And I really like that because I always felt like I never knew what I wanted to do. I was always the kid in school when they would ask you what you wanted to be when you grew up. I just said, I don't know. Someone to my left said, I want to be a firefighter. Someone on my right said, I want to be a doctor. And I would just sit there going, I don't know. So he really talks about how to start to look at your life and to figure out what you want to do. One of the quotes that I really like from his book is this: for the average person, the reality of death is the only thing more powerful than the fear of living the life you truly desire. So we really fear having the life that we want. And that seems kind of silly, but it's very true and it's very accurate. And the only thing that's more powerful than that fear is the reality of death. Just let that sit for a little bit. I mean, we don't really want to live our life if that's the only thing that we fear more. So he goes into how to face that fear and how to really start propelling your life forward and how to find out what you're passionate about. So I highly suggest that book. So again, the next category of books is once you've gotten your mind right, how to start making more income in your job, because you're not really going to get ahead, and you can cut corners and you can save here and there, but at the end of the day, the biggest way you can pay off your debt and get ahead in your life is to increase your income, especially in your job. So the first book I suggest is Personality Plus, and this is by Florence Littauer. I don't know how to say the name, but I really suggest this book because it talks about how to learn the different personalities of people. So we obviously are not all the same. We have very different tendencies, and when you're in a job, these can really make or break your career. If you are constantly clashing with your manager or with a coworker, that's going to determine whether you get a promotion. That's going to determine whether you get fired. So learning to deal with people and finding out how different people think will make the world of difference. And this will help you in your relationships, in dating, in your marriage, a lot of other areas too. It's not just money and not just your job. But again, we're specifically talking about your job right now. So this will benefit you so much in your career once you learn, hey, that's why that person reacted that way when I said that. It's because of how they are interpreting it, not how I meant it. And so he will explain how to kind of see those things and to expect those things so you know how to treat it differently the next time something like that comes up. The next one is How to Win Friends and Influence People. So this is along the same lines of that one, but it's less how-tos about people, and it's more just learning and how to deal with them and how to make good impressions and stuff like that. So his first principle I'll tell you, but you still need to read the whole chapter, is become genuinely interested in other people. And this might seem a little silly, but honestly, we're very selfish. Humans are extremely selfish, and a lot of us get in the tendencies of not actually caring about other people. So you can't actually win friends and influence people if you don't actually genuinely care for other people. He's got several other tips in there, but that's just number one. So read the book for the rest of them. The next one I have is The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by Zig Ziglar. And if you've been following leadership and just general how-to books, Zig Ziglar is a very popular author. He has done a lot of speeches and a lot of conferences, but this book is really helpful because it talks about how to be a leader. So not only do you have to be good with people in your career, but really to move forward, to climb the ladder more or less, you have to be able to lead people. So not just get along with them, but lead the people. So he goes over just 7 different tips about how to basically lead people. The last book I have in this category is How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And you might be thinking, well, I don't sell anything in my job, so I don't need to read this book. And while, yes, you may not be an actual salesman, this is still a great book because you will sell yourself in a job interview. You'll sell yourself pretty much every day on the job to get a promotion. So this is a great book to talk about how to sell and how to use your enthusiasm, how to get over your fear. Because a lot of us, when it comes to careers, are just afraid. We're afraid of stepping out of our box. We're afraid of actually selling ourselves in a job interview. So this is a great book, especially if you're a salesman. You need to have already read this, but even if you're not a salesman, read this book. It'll help you. So the next category of books, like I said, is more how to finish getting out of debt. So you've created some more income, but you haven't actually paid off your debt. And then also how to create wealth once you've had your debt paid off. So the first one I have is Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover. And if you've been following money, you probably know the name Dave Ramsey. And I've stated before that I don't agree with everything he says, so take this book with a grain of salt. I will go over more details in another video of what I disagree with him on, but he still has more money than I do, so I don't think you can go wrong listening to him either. But one thing I really like in this book is it will go through the nitty-gritty of how to pay off debt, and he is great at getting people out of debt. He has some myths in this book. This is just one of them. 90 days same as cash equals using other people's money for free. So again, most of us think that that's true, but it's actually the truth is 90 days is not the same as cash. And I see this all the time. They offer me the 90 days same as cash financing or 6 months same as cash financing, and then I actually say, but if I have cash, how much is it? And the price magically drops. So it's not the same as cash. Cash always speaks more than a credit score. Cash always speaks more than your history. If you have cash, you have power to get the price that you want on things. So he basically talks about how to have zero debt in your life and how to do that. So this is a great book if you need help with getting out of debt. The next two books kind of go hand in hand. So this is another author that's really known and has a whole program, kind of like Dave Ramsey. So I don't suggest you necessarily buy into their whole program and do that whole thing. That's fine. But you can definitely pick up a free book at the library and read it. So the first one is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and then his wife wrote Rich Woman. So Rich Dad Poor Dad basically goes over his childhood and how he had his poor father, which was his birth father, who was a great father but did not know about money, did not know how to create wealth. And then he had somebody in his community that was his rich father and basically became his mentor when it came to money. And he goes over all the different things that he learned from this rich father. One of the things I really like in the book is he talks about this. The rich buy assets, the poor have expenses, and the middle class buy liabilities that they think are assets. So again, rich buy assets, the poor have expenses, the middle buy liabilities that they think are assets. So he goes over exactly what an asset is, what an expense is, and what liabilities that disguise themselves as assets. So that's a great book to talk about how to build your wealth and how to really catapult your money further in your career other than just a job. And then his wife, like I said, wrote Rich Woman, and I highly suggest this to go hand in hand with Rich Dad Poor Dad if you're a woman. She really talks about how she has developed being a wife of somebody like Robert Kiyosaki. She talks about how important it is as a woman in society to create your own wealth and to understand how to create your own wealth. A lot of women kind of hide behind their husbands, and it's really created this distinct difference in men and women. It really goes back to the days where men were the only ones working and women were at the house cleaning, cooking, taking care of the kids. But that's not true anymore. And women have started to waken up that, hey, I want a career too, I want this and that. But they still don't necessarily want to deal with money and want to understand money. And she really talks about how dangerous this is. Because even if you're married, even if you have a spouse that's making a lot of money, you never know what might happen to them. You never know what circumstances will happen in your life. And so you really need to become knowledgeable just as much as your husband. So this is a great book for all of you women out there, especially if you're married, if you are kind of hiding behind your husband, this is a great book for you. The next book I have is called The Millionaire Mind by Thomas J. Stanley. And I really, really like this book because it interviews a bunch of millionaires. So a lot of us probably don't know a millionaire, or we don't realize that we know Millionaire. A lot of times they're all around us, but we never know that they're there because they don't flaunt it. So this book really talks about all these questions that they ask these millionaires and their habits and decisions that they've made in their life. So obviously if your end goal is to become a millionaire, you want to learn from millionaires. You don't want to learn from the homeless guy down the road. You want to learn from the people who have already done it. So this book is great to go over that. One of the things I wanted to pinpoint that the book talks about is how millionaires selected their vocation. 81% of them said that they picked their vocation because it allowed them to use their full use of their abilities and aptitudes. What that means to me is that they utilize their strengths. So while it's good to develop your weaknesses, when it comes to actually building wealth and becoming a millionaire, they talk about how important it is to focus on your strengths. So if you absolutely hate talking to people, you cry every time you do, you probably don't want to bank on becoming a millionaire by being a salesman. On the flip side, if you hate numbers and you don't like working in Excel, you probably don't want to bank on becoming an accountant. So they, like I said, 81% of them said that they focused on that for their vocation. Only 30% of them said it fulfilled a lifelong dream. So again, just because you said when you were 5 that you wanted to be a firefighter doesn't mean that that's actually what's going to make you become a millionaire. And this one's really key for all of you college age or younger people out there. Only 20% said they picked their vocation based off of a suggestion of a parent. So I think this is really hard, especially for college age people, to overcome, is that just because your parents love you, just because they have your best interest in their mind, doesn't mean they know what's best for you. So just because they're telling you that you have to become a lawyer doesn't mean you have to become a lawyer. Just because they say, hey, you have this amazing musical gift, you must become a musician, doesn't mean you have to become a musician. Only 20% of the millionaires said that they picked it based off of what their parents said. So definitely take what your parents say with a grain of salt. They love you, but they don't necessarily know what it takes to become a millionaire. And on the other side, the book talks about the lifestyles of millionaires. 85% of the millionaires said that they spent time in the past year consulting with a tax expert. So I think this is a really key thing because taxes is something that can really eat into your wealth. If you don't know how taxes work, if you don't know how to best allocate your income and best allocate your investments to make them tax advantaged, then you're really going to lose a lot of money. Millionaires are really great about knowing how to use other people. They know they don't know it all, and they know their time is valuable. So millionaires average, say, $360 an hour. So they can pay somebody $80 an hour to do their taxes, and they're still saving money versus spending an hour of their own time. So millionaires are really, really good about using other people, and 85% of them said they spent time consulting with a tax expert. I would say you probably want to do the same. 60% said they attended a Broadway play in the past year. And 67% said they gardened. 81% said they went to museums. Only 20% said they vacationed in Paris. 20% said they sailed on a yacht. I think that's kind of interesting. When we think of millionaires, we think of the people with the really fancy clothes, sitting on the yacht, sipping alcohol, and drinking and eating food. But only 20% of the millionaires said they did that. 3% said that they took an ocean cruise around the world. So we think we're all cool with our cruises, but really the millionaires know that there's a lot of other things you can do in life, and there's a lot of other fun activities you can do that don't spend as much money. Camping and hiking, 25% said they camped and hiked. So 3% did ocean cruise, 25% camped and hiked. Camping and hiking is free. So again, if you want to become a millionaire, read The Millionaire Mind. Find out what those millionaires are thinking. And the last book I have is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. And this is not for the light of heart. This is not for your average person. This is a great book if you truly want to build your wealth. He will go into the nitty-gritty details of taxes, of investments, every type of investment, the details of index funds, your 401k, a Roth IRA, all those fancy terms we hear people talk about, but we don't actually know what they mean. And I really like this book because I was in that position. I was in my first job and they were telling me to sign up for a 401k, and I just looked at them blankly saying, I don't know what a 401k is, but you're telling me to do it, so I guess I'm going to do it. This is not a good thing to do with your money, just doing what somebody in your HR department's telling you to do. So this book is really good about teaching you about so many things with money. Like I said, he'll tell you what's the most tax advantage ways in the investments. He'll tell you the pros and cons of a lot of different things. So if after you've been through all those books, you are ready to build your wealth, read the Money Master the Game book. There's audiobooks too, so if you get bogged down in reading it all, but I'd suggest getting the hard copy too because he does have some diagrams and equations, stuff like that. So again, not for the faint of heart, but it is a great book after you're done with the other ones. So again, the order is work on your mindset, Think and Grow Rich, all those books, then work on increasing your job income, dealing with people. That will help you in all aspects of your life. And then getting out of debt with Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. And then finishing it all off with increasing your wealth and learning about investments with the Tony Robbins book. So I'm going to put all of these books in a list in the description. If you have any books that you love when it comes to money or paying off debt, please comment in the comment section. I want to know what books I'm missing off of this list because I'm always looking for new books. If you have any questions about these books, if you love one of the books, tell me about it. Tell me what you learned from the book. So other than that, like the video, comment on it, share it with your friends, and click subscribe if you want to keep seeing all these tips. Join the group if you're not in the Facebook group yet, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!